Back to those hurricane force of winds that have been battering the East Coast, and a very unusual type of a snowstorm that went all the way down to Florida. Wind gusts over 70 miles an hour expected in eastern Massachusetts. 50-mile-an-hour plus winds in Long Island. Already a lot of folks are without power, tens of thousands of them. Temperatures expected now to plunge and stay very low, single digits or worse in much of the country. To Bryan Llenas now in Boston on how folks there are dealing with all of this. Brian.
Hi, Neil. Well, right now we're talking about some 22,000 plus folks here in Massachusetts that are without power. Now, that's a big deal for a number of reasons. You mentioned those near hurricane force gusts and even hurricane force gusts that we're seeing out on the Cape, Nantucket, and on the islands of eastern Massachusetts. And that is a big deal because power outages with that heavy wet snow and that precipitation causes a lot of strain on those power lines. And then that causes people to have to be in their homes, perhaps without heat. So they're telling people that if you are without power, assess whether or not you can stay in your home and stay warm. If not, go to a friend's house or go to a warming shelter. Earlier today, we have been seeing record flooding here in Boston in terms of the tide. I want to say this is either going to be the highest tide Boston has ever seen, or it'll tie the highest tide ever set back in the blizzard of 1978. Some 15 feet is the tide, and we saw some flooding in Seaport, water going down into the Aquarium T subway line there along the waterfront in downtown Boston. And it's not just water, it's that slushy water. And the big concern now is in all these areas along the water in eastern Massachusetts with that coastal flooding is the deep freeze that is expected when this storm rolls out of here tonight. If that water is taking a long time to recede because of all that ice and because of the temperature, it could cause problems where we're talking about not only hours but days in which people can't get back to their homes or in which that flooding persists. So again, right now people need to heed the warning. Boston schools are closed tomorrow. Good news, I guess, for some of those students, but again, stay off the roads. The plowing needs to be done as this storm continues. Neil.
Yeah, because none of this is going to be melting anytime soon. Brian, thank you very, very much. Bryan Llenas.